Father God, we just thank you and we give you praise. Father God, we ask you to be with us today, God, during this meeting, God, during this meeting and commissioner meeting, God, that you will order our steps, God, that we will be on the same page, God, to get a job done concerning the people. And we ask you to bless those who have authority over us, the first responders, God. And we just ask you to be with us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is the budget workshop of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, July 16, 2019 at 3:30 p.m. in the County Commissioner Chambers in LaBelle, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Byrd, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Marcus Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Lapp, and Clerk Barbara Butler.
Thank you, ma'am. As she said, this is a budget workshop, so we're going to get started right in just jump right into it. Are you going to be presenting, or is?
Constitutional officers,
Okay.
with the exception of the tax collector. His budget is not due until August, and so when we have our budget workshops in August, if he would like to present something to you, we'll bring that before you at that time. And so today's an opportunity for the remaining constitutional officers to present their budget if you have any questions. Before you is a packet, and we've numbered, we put it in order in which they will speak, and
Okay.
we numbered it with the copy machine so they can reference if you have a specific item that you want to ask or they want to point out to you. And so the first constitutional officer will be Barbara Butler, the clerk of court.
Well, my budget has went up maybe $4,000, and that's for payouts of employees that's been leaving. Other than that, that's it. Everything else is the same.
It went up how much again, Ms. Butler?
4,300
And that's just for buyouts, basically.
payouts.
You did good.
Thank you. That's it.
Trying to sheriff.
So just to clarify, her budget is just a 4,000 increase, and then later on in the budget discussions, depending on what we come up with insurance or cost of living increases, will increase her budget accordingly. So we'll bring all that to you as a summary as a whole.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hoots, before, 1 second. Mr. Chair, I just was looking at the note right there on the clerk of courts. And Ms. Butler, you did mention to us you were having to process a lot of, I don't remember exactly what the word was that you used, but
Tax dates.
yes, ma'am, I believe that's what it was.
Tax dates.
And you were contemplating hiring another employee, but I think we were gonna try to absorb that cost. Or,
It's strictly a county cost, not, it's, you know,
okay, but have you gone ahead and done that?
Oh, yeah.
And is it working out to like it?
Great.
Good. So if you don't mind, Ms. Butler, how does that work? Like, does that, in doing that, that just decreases the amount of time somebody's having to work, or is decreasing the workload for somebody else they can
It's
focus on
process-
something
it's
else?
It's double processing the tax deed process. Instead of processing 10 for a sale, we're now processing 20 and 25 for a sale.
Gotcha, okay. So we just created an efficiency. Good deal. All righty, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Hoots?
Hello, you'll see my budget. I'm on 4 of 29.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hoots, you had a request for some, in here, payment back from fees that you gave back to us, in our budget that's gonna be, in our packet that's coming up for the board meeting today. Are you familiar with what is in there?
No.
Okay,
On the agenda, you're just asking to reallocate the funds from the grant.
Oh, what that is that $73,000 that we got for cybersecurity last year. What we didn't spend of that $73,000 was $229. So we had to give it back to the state. Well, then the governor has announced for the counties that what funds you did not spend, you're going to be reallocated, but you have to apply all over again and submit all the paperwork again. And that's all we're doing to ask that the chair signed that we have all the required voting equipment we need for an election. You know,
Um,
it's
and-
not, there's no funds coming from the county, it's all coming from the state. And it's $229. That's what we didn't spend last year.
Awesome. I was looking for that number. Is there anything that you see is going to be a major capital improvement cost that you're going to have to incur, or let me rephrase that we're going to have to incur with you coming up soon? I know that for years we've been discussing machine upgrades or ADA
Well,
compliance, and some
We
of those
bought
things.
new equipment, we got it with the 5-year grant through the state.
Yes, ma'am.
Thankfully, so we've got that.
Okay.
How much longer we'll hold out? 5 years plus.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think our voting equipment, we're fine. We're not looking that anything is going to be uncertified. Cybersecurity is questionable. There is another grant out there that's 2.8 million. The state number's been released, but the individual funds that a county is going to receive has not been released. I put it in my notes. In fact, I misspoke there. It's $2.8 million for cybersecurity. And we do not know how much we're going to receive, but the county will have to match it by 15% once they release that figure. Cybersecurity is a major concern. Of course, we do have someone coming from the state soon to go into, there's an agreement between the state and us that they're going to come in and they're going to look at how we're protecting ourselves and give us recommendations. And hopefully that then once that 2.8 million is released, then that's how we'll use that to make ourselves even more secure.
Jerry, it's 2.8 for 67 counties though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Whether it be based on need, you know, they're very proactive for the small counties, that the bigger counties can sometimes take care of themselves. They have in-house IT people where we do not.
I was looking at your decrease. You did such a good job in your budget. I just like to commend you on that.
Well, you say decrease now. I did not decrease. Now, I did decrease last year, so I'm asking for that back and a little more. Because we have a very big election year coming, as you all know. It's the presidential election year. 2018, with the recounts, we're looking at recounts again. I didn't come back and have to ask for more money last year. I made it with the recounts where a lot of counties had to go back and get some more money because they didn't account for the recounts. So we're looking at that again. The concern of recounts, close elections they happen in Florida. They happen in Hendry County. I mean, I've seen them through my years. 3 votes, 5 votes, 12 votes. It happens.
Lawsuits?
Those recounts.
Don't go there. We hope not. We haven't been there yet, right?
So your biggest items were your salary increases, or is that
Yeah,
not
no,
covered?
I've had some turnover that even this past year, I've had one retire, and then now I have Nora going to go home next year. And
What?
I need some time to train someone to
Tell her she
take it
can't.
over.
Tell her no.
I know, well, I wish I'd tried to talk her out of it. But,
Would that not be covered under regular salary budgets that we budget for the increase anyway?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. So does this include the 3% and some?
No.
This is just.
this is where I want to bring in someone 6 months in
Extra coverage.
advance.
Bringing someone in.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ah,
this
okay.
is
I see.
this
So
is
some
someone who
additional
takes
salary.
care of the
Yeah,
books. She does our payroll and all our office accounting. And she
you need-
also, when it's election time,
You need to let her
gets all
mentor
those
someone
little
through-
nitpicky things
Okay,
together.
I understand.
And
Mr. Harris is on light duty.
Yeah.
Loaned him for a little while.
Oh, boy.
Do you know QuickBooks?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Still has a flip phone. There's no QuickBooks over there.
Okay. Any more questions or?
And of course, then you know that there was the largest salary increase in minimum wage. Election workers, that's where that other salaries comes in to an increase there.
Hey, question, Mr. Chair, how many people in your office make less that make between minimum wage and $14 an hour?
All right, so no one makes minimum wage, but there are two people that do not make $14 an hour.
Okay, okay. Ms. Butler, same question. Yes,
How many
ma'am.
years of service, Ms. Hoots?
Oh, God.
How
How many years of service?
This plays into that question right into it.
Some less than one, but others less than 5, right at the 5.
Right at 5 years.
Yeah.
And the accounting side.
And part of that is people I bring in. I have replaced the person in Clewiston that retired. When I did interviews, I'm not offering enough pay.
Right.
I try to sell them with the insurance and everything.
It's across
And
the
so,
board.
and I can't pay them anymore because I have people that have been there 5 years that aren't making
That aren't
any.
making it either. Right.
Yeah, and I'm
That-
not
that's the
bringing
reason I
them
asked
in
that question.
exactly at the same that they're making, but I want to.
Being in the system, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that, because there's a lot of
Yeah,
our departments
it's a
are in
good
that
point.
exact
I'm
same
glad you
boat.
asked.
Ms. Butler,
Over half of mine.
over half of your employees,
Make between minimum wage and 14? Is that what you're saying?
over half, so what is that number? Is that 17 people? Is it 50 people?
I'd say probably 16.
16 people making between minimum wage and $14 an hour.
And that's been there 7, 8 years.
We'll run into the same thing when you look at facilities, and some of them's been there 10-plus years.
Yeah.
And when you try to hire 7 years of no raises, it's
Sure.
hard.
It was hard to catch back up to, absolutely. Every department you'll find that. And skilled operators and, for engineering, road and bridge, they're in the same boat.
Yeah, they are.
And when this does pick back up, they're gonna lose a lot of people. Somebody's gonna walk in and give them $2 more and pull them off a seat.
Yep.
But anyhow, that's good discussion. Anything else from Ms. Hoots?
Thank you,
ma'am.
Ms. Hoot.
All right, thank you.
From Ms. Pittman? This-
Hello.
Looking at the budget, the overall increase was a net of $5,500.
How much?
$5,500.
Is that the big letter one on here? Property, yes, okay.
So what we're looking at is a total expenditure decrease of $1,358 of your total. The $5,500 was the personal
Got it.
services.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you only had 2 increases, and then you had 2 rather large, well, 1 large decrease of overall net. And then, the 2254 and the drop, is that once again an example of a retirement that you're clearing up with something?
Yes, I believe so. Where are you at?
Page 8, ma'am.
The red, the 12056? Are they still paying into drop? That has gone really down significantly, hasn't it?
Well, we
That's
had
what they have to pay is why.
Philip retiring, we had Danny retired, we
Yeah.
had
Obviously, they must have
couple
phased
people
out.
paid
So
out.
you had a
that
lot of
left.
people retired, is
Yeah.
what really accounted for.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that just phased out then?
Yes,
Is
sir.
what that is?
Yes,
Gotcha.
sir. It does include the 3%.
It does?
Does.
It-
Oh,
So you
okay.
did increase?
I
Okay,
did
so
include
you did
that.
anticipate for a 3% increase?
I had high hopes. Does not include insurance changes, though.
Does not include insurance what?
Changes. Yeah, anything with the insurances.
So the insurance stayed flat to your budget?
Correct.
Okay.
So your salaries, how do they compare to the clerk?
Very similar. We have a lot of new employees too, like what Ms. Hoots was saying. So we have a lot that are within that 12 to 14.
What's a lot? ma'am?
Half.
I'm gonna say 6 out of 13, 14,
Okay.
half.
So, I just want to make sure that I'm clear. On the, at the end of the day, you're showing a 33% decrease. Is that correct? In budget?
Yes, but yes, on the non-operating, that's
Oh,
the non-operating.
That's correct. Okay, where's the overall?
Yeah, overall,
-1%.
yeah,
It's right underneath that. Oh, well, I don't know what you're
it's
looking at.
point, it's,
0.1%.
Page 7. Got it. Okay, that's the overall is on page 7. Got it. Okay.
So I don't have that, so I don't know what. When they say a page,
Say,
it's not my
Barbara,
pages.
how do y'all compare with the school board?
We're way under school board,
Way under?
way under. They can, that's what I always said, they can walk right across the border and get a job making a lot more money than they can make.
On the clerk side, even? I'd be surprised if that's true on the whole case on like the clerk, secretaries. Okay. I trust you. I know you looked at it. Okay. Okay.
On that note too, I actually we've hired some new staff in the past couple of years. 2 of them actually were making way more than what they're making now, but they wanted the stability of the hours,
Yeah, right.
the benefits,
Sure.
so they took the pay cut to come, so.
Was they local?
when you say stability of the hour, that confuses me.
Working 8 to 5 every day instead of waitressing or,
Oh,
but they were making more money like at Beef at Brady's than they're making with us.
They're
Which is
working on
crazy.
night shift.
Night shift, no insurance,
Weekends.
no nothing.
No insurance, no retirement.
Right.
but I don't, I'm sorry, that doesn't net out then to an actual loss.
No,
It's actually a better
no,
job.
we were talking about the salaries and
Yeah.
what people are making.
Then when they get the benefits, it's a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's saying. It's a better job. Other than the salary is a click lower.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only negative for them.
Benefits do make a difference, though, big difference, especially if you have children.
Yes.
Any more questions?
Pittman, thank you very much for
Ms. Pittman?
this.
Thank you.
Last presentation will be for the sheriff.
We have our 3-minute timer.
Oh, boy.
Their budget will start on page 15.
Good evening.
You've heard all these decreases, haven't you?
No, I said all increases, every one of them. Why you on a hurricane anyway?
On a hurricane, is that what you call that?
That thing's called.
You see him hurrying up with it?
Oh,
That's a loaner.
All right.
That was from the last budget meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you letting us speak today. Sheriff's Office is on page 17, 18, and 19 of your book there. So we show what appears on face value to be a pretty significant increase. However, about half of that is mandates, which are out of our control, health, retirement, so forth, so forth. We are asking for 4 additional positions, 2 in the jail, 2 in CID. And I'll explain the jail side is in the past couple years, as you well know, you've watched it, we've seen an increase in inmates roughly from a running status of about 140 to around 260 now. So that puts a undue stress on our corrections officers. Also, we have different programs. We started the weekend program where inmates can come in instead of being sentenced, 7 days a week. They come in, they do weekends. It's a work program. They get out, they clean up the county, and that takes manpower, which accrues over time. Also, anytime an inmate goes to the hospital, we have to man him or watch him around the clock, which is significant over time. Yes, sir.
A quick question with that. Do they not pay some fees? If they come in and get Saturday detention, don't
I
they have to pay some fees or not?
Don't think they do.
They do not.
If they do, it goes to the
Court gets it?
court
So
system.
they probably do not,
No.
is what we're thinking.
No, yeah, I didn't think they did, so, because we're not seeing it.
Okay.
But yeah, we're responsible for working it,
Would
making
that
it
not be
happen,
fair to ask
providing the
them for
bus.
some fees to offset the expense of what it costs the county to do?
Yeah, you'll take care of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So as you can see, there's a lot of increases that come with that on the jail side. On the CID side, we're asking for 2 more, and the reason is for some reason we have seen in the last 2 months, we've seen a rash of serious crimes. We've had again, this is all within the past 2 months, we've had a homicide in Harlem. We made an arrest on that. We had 2 that were shot in Montura. Arrests were made on that. We had an elderly woman that was raped in Montura. Arrests were made on that. We actually caught him running out of the house, foot chase. The guys did a good job. We had a rash of vehicle thefts in LaBelle. We recovered all the vehicles in one piece and made arrests on that. However, that takes a lot of investigative time and money because these are serious felony crimes that takes place. So if that doesn't happen with these positions, we have to have an increase over what we're asking for now for overtime because we're going to keep accruing major amounts of overtime. In fact, since March 31st of this year, we have spent $347,000 in overtime. Now, that's everything included. That's festivals. That's normal overtime for normal crimes that the roads working and whatnot. But as you can see, the overtime has hit us extremely hard this year, which is out of our control.
Mr. Chair, hold on. March of 2019?
This year,
From March of,
no, up until, for this budget year, up until March of this year.
Okay.
okay.
Till March, yeah, October to March, I'm sorry. Up until October and March.
So if you had more help, you could
Yes, sir,
cut
alleviate.
into the 347?
Alleviate some overtime, yes, sir. Absolutely. You got to understand on the jail side as well. I mean, we're running 24 hours around the clock, and it depends on what kind of service they're having to have. They may be in there for weeks, around the clock watching at time and a half.
So how many people could you hire for 347?
Roughly 4, roughly, maybe not quite. Yeah, it's about 77,000 piece. So.
No more than what the clerk's people make.
Any other questions on that?
What, did you have any increases on like food, supplies?
Yeah, I'm not sure what, I don't, Chief, do you know if our food has increased significantly or not? Okay. Yeah, it's all included in the operating. And speaking of the operating, I want to point out that our operating amount today is the same as it was back in 2009. So we need some help on that, please.
Do you have that delineated?
Sir?
Do you have that delineated in here?
Yes, sir. Well, no, not that statement, but
The amounts.
the amounts, yes, sir, yeah. But if you look at the amount,
17 and 18, it'll show you all the line items, and you'll see
Yeah.
that 66 and some change for law enforcement, and 42 and some change for the jail, which is the 100 and...
but overall, if you look at our operating, like I said, it's right at the same amount roughly as it was back in 2009, which is a decade ago.
You do have a cost of living increase
Yes,
already
yes, we
built
do.
into the
At-
total.
Right, at 3%. Yes, ma'am, yeah.
What was that total percent of your insurance increase?
Was it 8%?
Or-
8%?
8%?
47 no, it's more than that. 60, it's the health insurance that he's showing.
Because people, and I don't know this, but sometimes it doesn't always work out mathematically because you have different people coming along with different options. So they may have family, they may have
Yeah.
employee only, and that
Yeah.
So what's the total increase?
Total increase we're asking for, Mr. Commissioner, is 993,391.
All right, so let me ask, I think maybe I'm looking at, so in 17, when I look at the personnel services, I see the line item for 1920, the increase of 234K as it relates to regular salaries, and then I go to page 18. I assume one of those is jail and one of them is
Yeah,
law enforcement.
I have
Okay.
everything on this page as,
Okay.
as one, so
Yes,
you're
sir.
looking at a different, it's broke down for you as far as
Okay.
LEO Road courtside.
Okay. Is that what I'm looking at? Okay, all right. Okay. Let me ask this, Mr. Chair. We had in 2019, or excuse me, 2017, 2018, there was a $220,000 line item for utilities. And I know we had a pretty verbose discussion as a board with the sheriff on absorbing some of that in. And now I don't see that line item carried forward. That's, a little less than
Because
$250,000.
we give that back, talk about the maintenance, we
Okay.
give that back.
No, it was utilities, not.
I think
I'm
it's
sorry,
actually.
utilities, yeah,
But-
Did that as
sorry.
How do we view that? Has that been a success thus far?
So Ian has been keeping track of that, and we're right about where we need to go. Now,
Okay.
on the repairs,
Yeah.
that one's going the other way a little
Okay.
bit, but the utilities is right on target as of, I think, last month, the last time I looked at it.
Chair, has the sheriff, have you felt that, on the repair side? Because we own that now, is that correct?
We owned it the whole time.
Well, we own the repair piece of it, because they were doing part, and we were doing part, but now we're doing all the repairs, for the most part.
So let me ask it a different way.
Is that what you meant?
What I'm just trying to find out is, like I like to ask Ms. Butler from time to time and make sure that we're talking with our contractors and the people that are supposed to be fixing these things, but that ain't my job, and I don't live here in the county and in these buildings. So my question to you is the jail in a better condition? Obviously, we have the capital improvement upgrades that are coming, but how is that working? Facility okay?
Well,
Is it
it-
still what it is?
It is what it is. I mean, we went through the episode, was it last year, where we're
No AC?
no AC for months, and then
Yeah.
we had a recent episode which were down for a long time when the blower went out, and we had the generators come in with the AC, and then they got the fan fixed. The company did, and then a short time later something went wrong and it was down again. But that's just bugs. I mean, it's going to happen. But I mean, overall, Alan, I mean, he works his tail off. He does, and his guys, and they're great. And they try to be on board, as soon as they can with us when we
Responsive as
request
quick as they
something. But
can.
we understand that they have a lot on their plate.
Yes, sir.
Now, I will say, I'm not going to complain. Could things be better? Yeah, we could double our manpower on that maintenance department
Yeah.
if we had
Yeah.
all the money in the world, absolutely. But for what we're working with, I'm not going to say anything negative about
Good.
Alan and his crew because they do a wonderful job for us.
Good, good.
I can say I had to go over there two and a half months ago to do some paperwork, and there was one room closed and blocked off because it was so moldy they couldn't go in it, in the admin building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know there's a leaky roof. We knew there was a leaky roof, and it wasn't
Yeah,
good, but,
and, yeah.
that can't be good for anybody.
No, and I guess that's getting addressed
Yeah.
down the line. So, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a 40-some-year-old building now, 40-year-old building, flat roof.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
throw things out when they're 40 years old.
I'm not an engineer, but I can tell you a flat roof's probably not a good idea.
That's not, that's good thinking in Florida, isn't it?
For a flat roof anyway.
Yeah.
All right, well,
right.
Mr. Chair, I think it's just one we need to mull it over extensively and be ready to have some questions queued up.
right.
Let's see.
I mean, off the cuff, it's fair to say, the big animal is 230. Let's round up 235 and 122 for salary increases, essentially for people on the ground. Is that a fair assessment of boiling it down? Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
You know-
yeah.
And along those lines, Commissioner Turner and Ms. Davis and Sheriff, It would be helpful to me. I mean, you've given the line item budget here and the information is all there, but I find it very helpful to have a single page where it says, would like to add 4 individuals at this cost. Would, you know, a single delineated page that shows the increase above. Operating costs is this, we need this for operating. That would be very helpful. I know it's all here, but there's 19 pages of lines and numbers and.
You're talking about where it come up to 993 increase?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier.
If you look at page 23,
Yeah.
somewhat of what you're requesting,
Very close.
Yep. That probably, yeah, it is. It probably needs to cleaned up a little bit because you're talking about salary increases, which we're going to absorb that one way or the other. And so we need to probably refine that, right?
maybe.
Well, actually, no. I think that,
Page here.
Something like this, is that?
yeah.
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 I like
This is
it.
what, something what you're talking about.
That's right. Yep,
You can
that's
sort
right.
from 1 year to the
And I'd like
next,
to be able to
let's
see, well, in personnel, it's going up, you know, by X amount or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a one-page spreadsheet guy when it comes to looking at those. That's how I operate.
I think you want something more like this, is what you're looking for.
Yeah, so I'm nice colors and stuff, yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, pretty colors would be good.
And if you could,
Unfortunately, I think they're gonna be mostly red when he gives them
then
to
if you
us.
could have a human next to that, and,
Pictures of the new people would be good.
yes.
Carson said he's my boss.
Years in service, medals won.
Exactly.
Good Lord, that thing's busy.
Yeah.
Well, the 884 takes about all of it.
That,
Well, of that number, I think it would be helpful to just identify what the 3% is and then what the new positions are. I think that might be
Yes,
what you're asking.
absolutely.
Yeah, the
Okay.
3% is going to be 362,000.
362K.
362,251.
And that's loaded? Is that loaded?
That's, I'm assuming that should be everything, right, Marlene? Yeah.
362.
Yes, sir.
What's,
And we're asking for, on the overtime, the change will be a $65,000 increase for the overtime.
if you hire these people, you
Well,
don't
then,
need that.
then we can keep it and we can work with it. Like I said, if we don't get the bodies, we won't have to increase that number. Somewhere along the line, we got to be able to come flat. And I believe the rest on that line is just.
I would love to see this cleaned up. Could we
Mandatory.
do that, where we could get some exacts? You know, not tonight, not now, obviously, because there's got to be some math put into it, but I think that'd be very helpful. Okay.
They just need this, it's, okay.
hey, Sheriff, how do you go about balancing out, like, the costs associated with, let's say, and obviously, I mean, there's a net effect. If you have your presence felt for Swamp Cabbage, Brown Sugar Festival, Henry County Fair and Livestock Show, you know, there's a cost associated with that. But how do you net those out at the end of the year?
Comes out of our budget. I mean, here's the thing about it. Every festival we have, they'll pay a little bit, but they all want to argue about what it actually costs us to have the manpower that we need on the ground to run it. So in the end, we end up eating that overtime.
Uh,
But it
It's
don't
just the way.
cover-
That's the way it is. The way it's always been, and it's a knife fight every time it happens. So
But you usually know what the figure's gonna be, don't you? Pretty close.
pretty close, yeah, pretty close.
Those festivals couldn't afford, if you made them pay his expense alone,
Yeah.
very few, if any of those festivals would be able to pull the
Right.
permit day one.
But yes, to answer your question, Ms. Harris, we do account for those festivals and what it's going to cost us. And like I said, just that and the regular overtime kills us at the end of the year. And if we have anything above and beyond, which we typically always do, I mean, just like this, we got to find it somewhere else. So.
What about some wins? I'd love to hear, and I know some of them, but I think the board ought to hear maybe an update. I know that you're working on the hiring from within program. You've got
Oh, yeah,
another
that's,
group.
listen, we've We started that, 3 years ago, and we've hired a slew of people under that program. I call them homegrown, from here, live here, have roots here, ties here, and I think we've only had one leave.
Yeah, so the rate,
Out of that,
the rate leaving is.
The rate
really
leaving
getting
has
better
gone way
because of
down, is actually working out very,
Good.
very well.
Good.
Very well. Not only that, but the compliments that I get on these people from other people are tremendous. You know,
Good.
they're homegrown, they're bred to say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and, you know, they treat people like they want to be treated, so.
That's awesome.
Mr. Chair? Sir. The census at your jail, I know at one point, Sheriff, you were a master of ROR.
Still doing it.
Why has it gone up so dramatically?
Sir, it's something, we've looked into it. It's something on the court side with sentencing of the misdemeanors and non-sentencing, and we're still trying to figure out what we can do. I don't know. I mean, you know, our arrests, they've probably gone up a little. I mean, our call volume's always increasing. The more people we get in, the more houses they build, we get busier.
Yep.
But however, it hasn't gone up that drastic. And we've watched that increase over the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm not putting anything on Judge Cutt, but it actually started at his tenure. I know he's not here, but it actually started at his tenure, so I was going to give you a time frame when he came in. And we've gradually seen an increase.
And it's obviously
and it's
held
up.
true. I mean,
It's held true.
You know, you haven't pulled a census to give us a day in 216, 217, 218, where it's 227, 228, 229. So my question is what kind of a conversation can we have? I know this isn't our wheelhouse, I don't think, but the civil citation process, you know, I don't know
Yeah.
if we have nonviolent, you know, criminals that are being held that is basically running up the
And,
cost.
and I want to point out something. If we didn't have this weekend program and the work weekend,
It'd be even
it would be
greater.
even higher.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, that tells you something right there. We do need to sit down with someone over on the court side and the judicial side, say, look, you know, we got to get these numbers back down. What's going on? Because I will tell you, you know, some judges don't like the fact that we ROR on driving offenses. And the reason that they don't like it is because they say, well, Sheriff, when you ROR all these people for driving on suspended license or what have you, you know, they all show up in mass because they only have, 2 court dates a month? They all show up in mass on them court dates. And their philosophy is, look, if you don't ROR them, keep them in jail overnight. They see us at first appearance. They can plea out, and we deal with it right then. Makes sense, but I don't know if that's working because we're way up in numbers. So.
The 16, 17, 18's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
What do y'all think about that, though? I mean, what kind of analysis needs to be performed to be able to look at that census and know, you know, are we talking about 10 people or 25 people that have ran a red light or have their X number of speeding tickets, and that's why they're being held overnight?
Yeah.
And then, you know, listen, Miss Taylor used to chastise me all the time because I said, stop talking to me about fixing the jail. They're criminals, okay? And she said, oh, really? Are you actually
Well-
going to say that publicly? And so
Yeah.
I've got off of that thought process a little bit. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a human being, and I've got to be more mindful of that. I get it.
Well, here's the thing. We're still doing our NTAs. I mean, if it's a
What's that
nonviolent
mean?
misdemeanor,
Notice
notice
to
to appear,
appear.
ROR,
Yes, sir.
basically. So if they come in, it's a nonviolent misdemeanor,
Uh-huh.
you know, driving on suspended, possession of marijuana under 20 grams, you know, whatever the case may be.
Uh-huh.
You know, we come in, we book them in, we photograph them, we give them a court date, we send them home. So we're still doing it. I just don't know. It's something when they go to court, now they're back and they're staying a lot longer.
You know, what I've gathered out of this conversation is there's two different times since you've been standing there. You said we need to get with the court system about this.
Yes, sir.
Are we missing a communication bar there?
Again, you know, we've talked it over with Captain Bassis, and he says it's something to do with the court system and the sentencing. I just can't recall exactly what he
Yeah.
told me and what they're doing or not doing.
Do you need
And-
us to facilitate
And
that, or
well,
is that something
it
you
may
do?
be too that he's actually sentencing people to jail more rather
Yeah.
than probation or.
Well, it's okay.
what
We just
have you.
don't know that, right? So
Right,
again,
yeah.
you need us to facilitate a meeting where we
Yes,
can
sir.
ask this
Because
question.
think about it like this. I mean, not only are we talking about you just numbers and what it costs to feed them, but medicate them. They get sick. They go to the hospital. The
Yeah,
overtime.
That's right.
The more people have, the more overtime. So it
No. When,
snowballs.
When they're incarcerated, they lose Medicaid. And so think about this now. You have a person that is on Medicaid, so we're already paying for that. Then they get incarcerated. They lose Medicaid.
We pay for it.
Now we pay for it.
That's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
pay for it when they
Yeah.
go.
Now when they get out, their ability to get re-engaged into Medicaid is a nightmare of mass proportions, and so that tab is still being bought by the taxpayers of Hendry County. Not to mention, not to continue to beat this horse deader than what it already is, but there's 67 counties, and we're per capita the highest percentage of Medicaid already. So what do you think that means to our recidivism population? And we all know that the population that is in jail from a recidivism.
Well, I'm going to
standpoint.
tell you like this, and if you need me to lead the fight, I will get with the FSA and start jumping up and down on the drum. But I think you guys too, with the Florida Association of Counties, because that's just wrong. I mean,
Medicaid being
listen.
gone?
If someone is arrested, I mean, what would they do if they weren't arrested? If they were sick, they have their Medicaid,
Yes,
they have
sir.
their insurance. So if they have it, then let them use it when they're incarcerated.
Yes, sir. It's a
There's
national-
no difference.
It's a national problem too. I
They
just
also lose
sat
their
in
check. If
a
they,
2-hour
if they
conference.
get benefits from the state, they lose that.
Yeah, but we pick up everything.
We pick up everything.
Local issue, because each state is handled differently.
But they're all losing it. No state. I mean, every state in the union is
That's right.
fighting this issue right
That's
now.
right.
So,
In my opinion,
but
that's
it
dead
just
wrong.
seems it's very asinine,
Asinine.
right? Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Yep.
So
If we didn't pay for it, well, then the state's not gonna pay for it, so they just shifted on to us.
But the thing is, if they have their Medicaid or they have private insurance and they get arrested and they get sick, then use your private insurance or your Medicaid.
Wonder how many of them don't have private insurance?
Well, you know what? That's a
It's in
different
ours.
ballgame, but there's a lot of them that do.
But at the same time, though, see, this is where I about got beat up by a bunch of further left people in their thought processes, because you always hear about, this get into a federal conversation, but Medicaid for all or medical coverage for all, and I really think that there is a program. I mean, so because you have the Obamacare that exists today, or the American, I don't even remember what the actual American Affordable Care Act. But I think it's up to a $5,000 deductible now, so I don't know how well that gets utilized. And then you have Medicare, Medicaid, and then unfortunately we have a lot of people that are using the emergency room as a general practitioner's office. So I mean, nobody can be turned away there either. So it's just, man, there's got to be a way to look at these. And then this all goes back to, for me, this goes back to, your number in 14 was 24. In 2014, your number was 151, your census at the jail. You're saying since 2009, you haven't had an increase in that operating, account.
Overall, yeah.
Yes, sir. And then 2018, we're doing it with 229 people. And it just, man, I'd love to know what that magic button that was pressed, so to speak, that has caused that census to go up. If you're saying you're still doing everything you did from a notice to appear or release on recognizance standpoint, what was the catalyst, so.
So out of the 229, how many of those people could be released?
I don't have those numbers, but,
But some of them could be released.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then Commissioner Harris, let me ask another question. Just so I understand, and I don't think it's changed. A person is sent to you with a sentence of 364 days, or is it 366 days?
Can't do more than a year.
Can't be more than 1 year, 1 day, right?
Yeah.
And so, do y'all have a lot of population that's been there for months on end?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And do you have people that have gone past that 1 year time frame?
Well, we have people that are waiting trial for more than a year.
So how does
A
that
long,
not trip
long
that,
time.
Sheriff? How does that not trip that? How does that?
Well, they can't be sentenced
right?
more than a year.
But how in the world can they sit in jail? And is that your population that's a pretty violent offender?
Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
but I don't think that's the majority of our population. I think the majority are sentence misdemeanors from the court side.
All right. So once again, thank the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jail's always been a big protagonist to me making right decisions. What is a misdemeanor? Give me into real language.
If I walk up and slap you in the face,
Which
let me
you've
show
threatened
you.
to do multiple times. Okay.
Yeah,
Pay child
assault, simple battery, possession of marijuana, shoplifting a pair of underwear at Walmart. Those are all misdemeanors. Driving on a suspended license, that's a misdemeanor.
And that is what, and you're just off of the hip. I'm not
Off the
gonna hold
hip,
you
I
to it.
believe that
That's a
those
huge
are,
percentage of our population?
yes, because that's the majority of our arrests are misdemeanors. So I think what is happening is I think they're coming in, even if they get ROR, they have to go to court. They plead guilty. The judge gives them 6 months, a year, 3 months, whatever, and they're coming back and having to do their time. And I think in the past, maybe that judges were more along the lines of, okay, you know what, it's your first offense, I'm gonna give you 6 months probation, check in with probation officer, you know. I think that's what's going on.
Okay.
Now, you know, there's also, we've discussed this in the past, there's also other programs out there, like the ankle monitors, but I don't know if all the judges are on board with that, or they like to get too many, because we don't have a way to monitor that.
We'll have
Because
strong
again, that's,
infrastructure to let us be able to see who's doing where.
yeah, that's going to take more money. I mean, if you start ankle monitoring everybody, that can get to be a pretty big program, having to monitor it and making sure they're where they're at and whatnot. And then if they violate that, then we have to take the warrants and go look for them and make the arrest again and violate them. And it gets pretty crazy, so
Okay.
How many do we house for other counties or any other system?
we really don't right now.
Not at all?
Not at all. We used to do the federal program, and it actually made good money for us, but that kind of went away when they built the detention center over in Clays County.
You wouldn't have room anymore.
No, sir.
Well, and it would also potentially crush us as well, because when that census gets high, you have to pay the per diem to a federal rate, which we're way under right now. Is that not?
Wait, say that again?
So the food, the items that you have to provide, the per diem that goes towards an inmate, there's a federal rate and there's a state
Yes,
rate,
sir.
correct?
And we're under that federal
We're
rate.
under that federal rate, whereas Glades County, if they have a high federal population and a low state population, or vice versa, if their state population is high and their federal population is low, everybody still has to get that they have to be funded, if you will, at that federal rate, and it's much greater. So that's why you have to make sure that federal animal is constantly eating, so those dollars and cents are rolling correctly. So
Yeah,
it's a big business, isn't it?
it's a big business.
Terrible. Right. I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Have you ever reached out to the judge?
We actually had spoken to the new judge, and we're supposed to get together and actually have a conversation about this.
I'll just tell y'all, I've talked to like 3 judges offline. I'm scared to death of them. But if y'all want to have a chat with them, and I don't know how we can go about having it privately, I would love to engage that. I don't know. I do know this. I've sat up here before. I've witnessed commissioners go at it with Judge Sloan. I think that's just ignorant as can be. I think that I just think that you have to respect those positions, and I think there's a way to go about it where we can work with them, but at the same time, I mean, ultimately, it's their choice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you want to be Billy and tough and all that stuff, feel free, but it ain't gonna get you poke the bear all you want.
It needs to be more of a collaborative conversation, not a poke in their eye.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's all we have till the 5 o'clock? We'll adjourn till 5 o'clock then.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone.
nice. We're adjourned?
You need
All
something
right.
else? We haven't left yet.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, we're adjourned at 5 then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.